Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Welcome to Nevada Newsmakers. On the broadcast today, we're talking diversity and drones. Now that's diversity for you. With Ann Morgan of Fennemore. She's here for the whole show on an all-new Nevada Newsmakers.
Hello, is this D&D Roofing?
Yes, it is. How may I help you?
You did such a great job on my roof. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner.
Oh, can I speak to your supervisor?
Sure.
How may I help you?
I love your work. May I speak to the owner?
I am an owner. We're all owners. Well, that's why at D&D we work so hard to keep your home safe and sound.
Oh, no wonder.
D&D Roofing and Sheet Metal. Local, employee-owned, here for you.
Like a traditional handmade basket, retail is woven into the fabric of life in Nevada. From big box to mom and pop, retail supports our communities in countless ways. Jobs for the disabled, team uniforms for kids, help for the elderly, and so much more. Retail employs over 1 in 10 workers. Retail supports Nevada, and we support retail.
RANNV.org.
Pro Group Management offers workers' comp services to a growing number of industries. As businesses grow and change with the times, the need for a solid workers' comp program must be flexible and up to date. The evolving nature of regulations can make staying ahead of complex tasks challenging. But Pro Group Management simplifies the work so your industry can move forward and succeed. Pro Group Management, workers' comp that works for you.
Catherine Cortez Masto knows working families deserve better. That's why she worked with both parties to help lower Nevadans' costs. Lower costs for our healthcare premiums and prescription drugs. Lower costs for utility bills. And Cortez Masto's plan cuts taxes for working families. It's paid for by making the super wealthy finally pay the taxes they owe. And no family making under $400,000 pays any new taxes. So tell Catherine Cortez Masto to keep lowering costs and getting results for Nevada families.
Nevada Newsmakers Studio is located at the headquarters of the Nevada Trucking Association. Motion and purpose are a truck's greatest virtue.
This is Nevada Newsmakers with host Sam Shad, a no-holds-barred political forum. Now, from the Nevada Newsmakers broadcast headquarters, here is Sam Shad.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we are delighted to welcome back to the program Ann Morgan. She is an attorney with Fennemore. Used to be Fennemore Craig, but now it's just Fennemore that has the most beautiful offices at Ranch Hera, and we are delighted to have you back.
Thank you very much. Delighted to be back.
Okay, so you are head of diversity for your corporation.
Yes, I'm the Chief Diversity Officer.
Define that.
Define what the job is, or define diversity?
Both.
Well, my job is to try to implement and lead the firm to be more diverse in a variety of areas. Diverse in how we hire, diverse in how we promote, diverse in our vendors, to make sure that we are also inclusive, to make sure that once we hire you, you find that we are a friendly, supportive, culturally sensitive workplace. And we believe that if you do that, several things will happen. One, we will provide better service to our clients because the statistics show and the studies show that diverse thought yields better results. Two, we will have employees who are more satisfied, who feel more empowered, who feel that they are working for the greater good. And we also think that's good for business.
All right, so I couldn't agree with you more in terms of the big picture. And on this program, I want to be as diverse as possible. Everybody is welcome here. I don't care who you are, as long as you're not hurting somebody, you are welcome at this table. But with affirmative action, and I'm going back 40 years now, it seemed to me that part of what was going on was not that people were picking people to come work at their companies because they were qualified and part of a diverse community, but they were just filling a quota. So my thought was, you go to the poorest school in your area, and you go to the principal and say, find me the poorest kid in the school who has the most potential, and let us take that kid and put him into our company, and let's train that kid, because that kid is going to grow up and understand that they've been in a very nourishing environment, and as they succeed, they will go back to their community and help lift more people out of that community into the workforce. Am I wrong about that way of thinking? Because I don't think that was happening 40 years ago. I think people were hiring people for quotas.
I can't speak to 40 years ago because I'm so much younger.
Yes, you are, ma'am. I am much older than I appear.
I can say that diversity is not about winning the lottery. Diversity is about expanding your concept of what kind of employee will work well in your business. So for example, in a law firm, if you traditionally only went to the alma maters of your partners, and those alma maters happen to have law school classes that are predominantly Caucasian, you are not going to find a diverse workforce in that fashion. However, if you expand the pool that you are recruiting from to include law schools who have a large, diverse population, you are going to find employees. Everybody who gets a law degree and passes the bar is qualified to practice law. And I think that we need to be thinking broader than just, I want someone who looks like me, I want someone who acts like me, I want someone who thinks like me. Very self-fulfilling to have somebody sort of reinforce everything you do and look and say, but not necessarily creating a good product for your client. And that's what we're about. We really believe that our clients will do better if we have more diverse thought going into solving their problems.
I believe it was Wells Fargo a number of years ago that reached into the high schools and found Hispanic kids who they thought could work at the bank and become tellers because the Hispanic community as a whole did not trust banks, because in their countries of origin, if you put your money in the bank, the odds are that at some point the bank or the government was going to take your money, and so it wasn't a safe place to keep your money. And people felt more secure keeping their money under their mattress than they did dealing with these institutions in their home countries. What happened was that suddenly you have a young Hispanic person, male or female, working at the bank, and all of a sudden the family that doesn't really trust banks is coming to see their kid, their grandkid, and suddenly they want to open a bank account because their relative is working there. Is that a pathway to diversity?
It certainly apparently worked for Wells Fargo.
I think it was brilliant.
I think it works for them. The firm, as well as the state bar, is really promoting what we call a pipeline. With respect to the state bar of Nevada,
which you are the president of.
Of which I am the president, we have a pipeline program that we support out of Boyd Law School. It's called the Michael Douglas Fellowship Program, and we go into
after
high
the
school.
Supreme Court Justice.
Correct. We go into high schools. That program goes into high schools, and the state bar helps support that through funds. And we talk to high school students about being a lawyer. Many high school students have never seen a lawyer. They don't have a vision of that could be a path for them. And it's important that they think about that as they enter college, because if you finish college and then you decide you want to be a lawyer, it's a much harder road. But if you go into college and think, this might be a path for me, you can be supported by mentors, you can be supported with scholarships, and then you have an easier time taking the LSAT, which is the entrance exam for law school, easier time getting into a law school, easier time in a law school. Suddenly, we've got people who would never have thought of the law as a profession, looking at the law as a profession, very similar to what Wells Fargo did. And once you have a group of people together who see others who look like them and speak like them, you're going to have more diverse members of the profession.
And are you seeing those people as they qualify and become lawyers going back into those communities and reaching out to find more people?
Unfortunately, it is so new, we don't have an answer for that yet. But we believe it to be the case. We believe that that will be the case. The Nevada Latino Bar Association, which has most of its members in Las Vegas, but has just started a group here in Reno, Nevada, is preparing scholarships for LSAT, which is the law school aptitude test, to come in, take the LSAT, and they are paying for the prep course. They're giving them a scholarship to pay for the prep course. It has expanded exponentially the number of students who are Latino to take the LSAT, who then will go to law school. So I think what we're going to have is a ripple effect back into Latino communities, back into other minority communities.
Do you think that minority communities are better organized in Southern Nevada than they are in Northern Nevada? Because it seems to me that certainly from political power, that Southern Nevada has a stronger base than Northern Nevada does.
I think they have a larger population base.
Sure.
I think that you will always find there's about 20% that do all the volunteer work. And if you have a larger population base, you're going to have a much bigger pool to organize with. So the answer may be yes, but just my personal opinion, I think it's largely population driven.
What do you think the difference the Boyd Law School has made in the state of Nevada for attorneys? Because, prior to that, attorneys had to go out of state.
As did I.
Yes.
Because there was not a law school.
Right. So what is the difference that has been made because of Boyd?
Well, the difference in the community is enormous. We have so many more services that are offered in the community because we have Boyd Law School. We have clinics. We have much more pro bono activity. We have much more help in the immigration arena, more help in the medical field, more help, more resources because we have Boyd Law School. Its effect, I think, is profound on the amount of assistance that's being provided by the profession in the state.
You brought up immigration. Are we ever going to see immigration law reformed in this country to where it makes sense? Because it's been a hot potato, to my knowledge, since 1977. And it was reformed in '86, but getting Congress to do anything about it, and it just seems like the problem gets bigger and bigger. You look at the southern border under both the previous administration and the current administration, and it's a disaster, and Congress does nothing.
I just don't know what Congress is going to do. What I do know is that everybody should look at what they can do. And here is something that the State Bar does. We encourage attorneys to volunteer to help immigrants fill out their forms, their paperwork, so that they can move through the process more easily. That is something we can do, and it does make a difference. Makes a difference to get in the queue, makes a difference to be able to move forward in the citizenship process.
Okay, but this doesn't help out of status immigrants, does it?
Sometimes it does. Sometimes you can identify areas that maybe somebody hasn't thought about. Unfortunately, what happens is, like all of us, we talk to our neighbors who are not necessarily informed. So if you can go to a clinic or you can get a pro bono attorney who will help you look at a form to see if maybe you do qualify, just to interview you to see if something might be of assistance, that's a help.
Boy, it sure would make a difference in this country if we could have some immigration reform. Do you think, from your perspective, and I don't know how deeply you get into immigration issues, but do you think that comprehensive immigration reform is the way to go, or should we really separate it and take care of parts of it so that something can be accomplished? Because I don't think the comprehensive immigration reform is anywhere in our near future.
Well, and back to my comment about you should do what you can do. I know that there are some things that lawyers can do right now, and I know there are things that firms can do right now, and that we should do. And we should ask that our Congress work to do what they can do.
Well, good luck on that last part. All right, let's take a break. More with Ann Morgan when we come back.
A record 2 million illegal immigrants. With them, drug runners, child smugglers, and gang members. A fearless conservative, John Lee knows every town is a border town.
We need to fix immigration, but nobody does a thing about it.
As governor, John Lee will end sanctuary counties in Nevada and stop illegal immigration at our borders. John Lee supports ending Biden's dangerous catch-and-release policy, blocking payouts to border crossers, and finishing President Trump's wall. Conservative John Lee for governor.
Each day, the Children's Advocacy Alliance partners with leaders, legislators, and families across Nevada to improve children's health, education, economic well-being, and safety. We recognize Nevada will be no better than the state of its children. Be a part of this change. Be a supporter of the Children's Advocacy Alliance. For more information, go to caanv.org.
Serving Our Kids Foundation's mission is to serve homeless, at-risk, and food insecure children in grades K through 8 throughout Southern Nevada. During the pandemic, Serving Our Kids has seen a 42% increase in the number of children served, providing more than 4,500 meals to kids in over 100 schools weekly. Serving Our Kids is powered by community support and volunteers. To learn how you can help, visit servingourkids.org.
I'm here at the Carson Valley Inn in Minden with Joey Whitaker. You have a great hotel here. Mike Pegerman's invested a ton of money into this place to make it just gorgeous. Tell people what they can expect when they come down and stay.
A real quality experience, Sam, and the rooms, you've stayed in them, they're good size, very well appointed, clean, and for about $65 Sunday through Thursday right now through the winter. After you're done with your meetings, you take a nice, beautiful scenic drive and come stay in a very nice, beautiful room. It's not a long way to get away to the Carson Valley Inn.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And back on Nevada Newsmakers, we continue our conversation with attorney Ann Morgan. She is the president of the State Bar. She also works for Fennemore. And one of the areas that you have expertise in is autonomous systems.
I don't think that I would say I have expertise in autonomous systems, but I have been interested in drones and artificial intelligence that, to the extent it invades privacy.
Right, and we talked about that the last time you were on the program, which is several years ago. So where are we at this point? Because it seems to me that, for example, drone technology is moving along rapidly and becoming more and more involved in our lives, whether it's people shooting videos for movies and television, private videos, etc. How are we with the privacy issues now by comparison with where we were before?
Oh, we're terrible. We're absolutely terrible. The scales have definitely tipped in favor of what I consider intrusion, but that's my personal opinion, of some people's privacy. We don't have an effective means of policing it. And the irony is, to police that kind of invasion of privacy requires technology. So we haven't built the defensive systems that I think could help us make sure that if you're on the 6th floor of your apartment and you happen to have the window open and a drone pops up to take pictures of you, there should be a technological barrier that would prevent that from occurring. But we haven't invented it yet.
And you still can't shoot a drone out of the sky, I'm presuming?
You can't shoot a drone out of the sky. That's true.
What about federal aviation, for example? There are rules and regulations about airports. What are the defenses that airports have?
Well, right now we actually do have pretty strong laws with respect to drones within a certain distance of airports or certain height of airports. But what we don't have is an effective means of getting rid of them, but there is technology being worked on as we speak to create a geofence that would basically either destroy the drone if it crosses the impermissible boundary or would send it back to its home base.
Are you seeing the benefits of drone technology at this point? Because it would seem that in the conversations I was having here on the program 2-3 years ago, the fire, police, companies that inspect pipelines were all very excited about the technology in terms of safety. Is that what you're seeing?
Oh, yes. And that has grown by leaps and bounds. The technology for the good is doing a terrific job and really making it safer to make us safer in that regard. So the example of the bridge that you were just talking about, as opposed to having a human scale a bridge, you can have a drone scale a bridge and report back to a human who's safely on the ground if there are any cracks or if there are any issues with the structure itself. So from a safety perspective, that is a wonderful use of that kind of system.
Agriculture is also one that seems to be benefiting, that you can scan a field and see where water is needed, where overwatering is going on, leaks in systems. These all seem to be very beneficial. What could have taken days, if not weeks, can now be done in a matter of hours.
Right, and very inexpensive. I mean, also, the labor costs are much less, so you get terrific societal benefit from that, and a safety benefit as well.
Okay, so what other things are you looking at that are coming down the pike that you're hearing about that we don't know about yet?
I don't know if I'm as I say, I'm not an expert, but I think what we're going to see is a lot more use of using a drone wherever you have a safety issue, where you don't need human touch, but you need eyes on the topic. So it could be in the military, it could be in industry. Just think about what you might be able to do with some of the pipeline, supply pipeline issues we're having today if you had drones who could better manage where the goods and services are in a warehouse, or where the goods and services are on the road, or where the goods and services are as they're being loaded in another country.
Do you have concerns, though, from a privacy basis about AI?
Well, as I said at the beginning, I think that if they don't have a commercial purpose, and if they don't have the permission of someone to take their picture, then I think there's a privacy issue, yes.
And how is this playing out in the courts that are already overwhelmed because of COVID?
Well, you aren't seeing a lot of these particular cases in the courts right now. Most of those cases, in fact, all of the civil cases in Nevada, we have a gigantic backlog in our civil cases, and we are not alone in that. That is happening across all 50 states. So I don't think that during COVID we are seeing a lot of privacy law being developed. We are probably seeing more privacy issues arising that will be resolved in the courts, but not for 2 or 3 or 4 years. I mean, right now the courts are just inundated trying to deal with their criminal docket.
All right, let's take another break. We'll be back with Ann Morgan after this time out.
Before the masks, before the distancing, before the world changed, UMC was ready. Our response to COVID-19 began before the crisis did, with our own team of infectious disease experts who've spent their careers planning for this moment. With a pandemic response plan, we'd practiced again and again, and by blazing new trails in large-scale testing, including every patient we admit. Always ready. UMC.
As you know, Reno is booming. Toll's development company is helping it grow with insightful design and development, building community with every project, adding beauty, adding excitement, emphasizing our shared humanity. Reno is becoming bigger. Toll's development is helping it become better, more livable, more enjoyable. To learn more, go to tollsdevelopment.com. tollsdevelopment.com.
Safety. We all think about it. You think about it when he buckles in, when you check your mirrors and put away your phone. RTC thinks about safety too. In fact, we create it. Center turn lanes mean fewer blind spots. Bike lanes keep cyclists and you safe. Roundabouts reduce injury collisions, and all these crosswalks are designed to keep families like yours safe. Safety is your priority, and it's ours too. Every day, in everything we do.
Can't do it. Stupid, like my mom.
We can't do anything at Mommy's because you won't pay child support.
Dad said you cheated, and he's not even sure he's my dad.
Mommy said you left both of us, so she isn't gonna let me see you. I look just like my father.
I'm divorce attorney Marilyn York, and I may represent men, but hate has no gender, only casualties. Please, stop sacrificing your children in your war against your ex.
This is Nevada Newsmakers.
And Back on Nevada Newsmakers, we were here with the president of the State Bar, Ann Morgan. She's an attorney with Fennemore. You were saying in the break that over the last couple of years, everything has been COVID. Define that.
COVID has affected certainly employment law, which is one of the areas I practice in. It's defined how we interact with each other as a community. It's defined our politics. It's defined our science. I can't think of an area that COVID hasn't affected. But I'm particularly interested in how it's going to play out in the employment field. The plus side is that we have done by leaps and bounds how to work remotely, how to not have to all be in the same place at the same time to do quality work. That's a definite plus. The negative side is it has caused us to not be together. And most of our great things that we have accomplished as a society have been when we have worked together. And so I think we're still trying to figure out that mix.
I couldn't agree with you more. There's a huge article in the New York Times this past weekend that talks about exactly this, how young people coming into the workforce, working for these huge corporations that are working alone and are missing out on all the social engagement, and that is going to cost them down the road. A topic for another day. It is so nice to see you again. Thank you for doing this, and please come back.
Thank you, Sam.
And we'll be right back.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and Twitter. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Modern boutique Ahern Hotel and Events Center in Las Vegas. Host meetings and events on 2 floors. Stay in luxurious rooms and suites. Unlimited branding opportunities. Regional Italian cuisine by Chef Mark Segrisi. Flexible event spaces. Full buyout options. Visit ahernhotel.com today.
I'm Jeff Gehrman, an investigative reporter with the Las Vegas Review-Journal. I'm your guide for Season 2 of Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas.
You're in with every gangster and hoodlum in the United States. I don't go for that, Mr. Kennedy. I don't go for that kind of action.
I was on television accused of fronting for the mob.
Subscribe to Mobbed Up, The Fight for Las Vegas, Season 2, today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, Dad? Are you learning? This place is great. Huh? You gotta try this.
Wow, this stuff is great. People are gonna love it.
Yes. Yes, they will.
7 at 7 is available anytime, anywhere.
I'm Riley Smith with your Vegas Golden Knights. Watch 7 minutes of nonstop news from the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Streaming on LVRJ.com and YouTube. Powered by the Las Vegas Review-Journal.
Watch Nevada Newsmakers on YouTube. You can do that now these days. We'll see you on the next broadcast.